Welcome everyone. We'll be starting in just a moment. This is John McGuire and I'm so thrilled you joined us. So we're going to do a lot of great material that I'm going to be teaching you. So I want to make sure you have either your computer to take notes or pen and paper. And we're going to be doing things that you can do right on yourself, as well as I'm going to be demonstrating working on someone that you can see how you could possibly use this in your practice. What I'm also going to do is we're going to have a poll of your level of expertise in kinesiology, whether you're a beginner, you've done the AK fundamentals, perhaps you've done the advanced courses, or you're really an expert at this, wanting to just learn everything you can. And I'll be starting in just a minute. We're bringing in another group of people from Facebook and also from YouTube. So, and by the way, yesterday we had a momentary power outage. So if I go dark, hang in there. We just have to reboot if that happens again. We intend it will not happen. And you know, in real life, tech challenges do happen. So we're hopefully going to be running smoothly. And we'll be going for about an hour, and I'll be answering your questions. So you'll be able to put those in the chat, in the Q&A. And also we'll ask you a few other things you can enter into the chat. So let's ask our tech guy here, how are we doing? Welcome everyone. I'm John McGuire, founder and director of the Kinesiology Institute, and I'm so glad you joined us today. We're going to be teaching you some excellent techniques that you can put right into your life or your practice, as well as show some of our courses that we have available right now with some special bonuses. And I'm going to be demonstrating on someone so you can see how you can use this actually in a session. First thing I always like to do though when we start these things is a little tune-up technique. So let's have you turn your head from right to left.
John, give me 1 second.
Okay.
I'm going to just go off for a sec. Just let people know.
Oh,
gonna pop off for 1 second.
We're going to pop off for 1 second, folks, and then we're going to go again. So just give us a moment and we'll be right back. Welcome everyone. I'm John McGuire, founder and director of the Kinesiology Institute, and I'm so glad you're joining us today because I'm going to be sharing with you some very practical skills you can put right into your life as well as into your practice if you're a health professional. I've been doing this work for 42 years now, and it's a blessing to be able to share this with others. In the Kinesiology Institute that I started back in the 90s, I've been showing people how they can integrate this into their practices, both massage therapists, physical therapists, acupuncturists, nutritionists, chiropractors, medical doctors. And I'm getting great response from the people that are using these techniques. Every day we hear like miracles that are happening that no one else could help. So what we're going to do in this hour is I'm going to show you some great skills, and we're going to start with one right now. Then I'm also going to show you how you can integrate this into a practice. I'll be demonstrating on someone, so you get to see that. I'll also be talking about some of our courses coming up and how you can have special savings if you enroll right now. And at the end, after we answer your questions, we're going to do a drawing for someone that's going to win a $200 scholarship on any of our courses. So let's start with a technique called the ear enrolling technique. I want you to let your head go right to left, spin it around, and see if you've got a stiff neck on either side. Okay? Now, I'm going to have you unroll the ears by taking the rolled over part of your ear and just pulling it away from the opening. This is the ear enrolling technique that is often helpful for not only releasing stiff necks, but it also helps you to retain auditory information. In other words, you listen and process better. It also is an energizer because the ears act as antennae for the acupuncture meridian system. That's the channels through the body where a bioelectrical energy called qi flows that fuels your whole body. So we're boosting our qi, boosting our energy, and also, let's see if we relieve some stiff necks. Okay, then turn your head from right to left. Wow, I'm getting a lot more range of motion myself, so hopefully you did too. So that's where I like to use that anytime I'm feeling a little fatigued, as well as if I got to listen to something. So hopefully we got you tuned in and turned on for our presentation. Now, I'll give you a little bit of my background, and then we're going to take a poll to find out what your background is so I can present to you that will be most relevant. So when I started learning kinesiology, it was back in the 1970s. I got the Touch for Health book, which Touch for Health is basically the lay approach to applied kinesiology. And I got it in 79. I said, God, this is fascinating. I was in massage school at the time, and one of the students said, wow, we are getting amazing results in my husband's chiropractic practice using this system called Touch for Health. And, wow, that's interesting. Well, I ended up taking a course in 1981 where I got certified in Touch for Health. I was so intrigued by the system that I started applying it in my massage practice, was getting great results. Well, I had a chiropractor who was in my yoga class. I was a yoga teacher at the time. And he said, John, come on to a demonstration we're having at our clinic, where he showed more of the kinesiology techniques that were from George Goodhart. And I said, wow, this is amazing. Where did you learn this? He said, well, we went up and studied and did a program with Dr. George Goodhart in Detroit, Michigan. I had the great fortune of then getting the opportunity to take the certification program of Goodhart, the AK certification program, Applied Kinesiology. And then as I came back, my practice every week, or I was 1 week at a month, I ended up having phenomenal results in my practice that I ended up getting people coming in from other states. My practice tripled in the first year. I then would fly to other places, like had clients in Florida, so I'd spend a month in the winter doing clients there. And it was just amazing how the effectiveness of this system is. So George Goodhart discovered that you can take a weak muscle and immediately activate it to make it strong. Then he also, as he's doing his work, noticed that every muscle in your body is associated with an organ and an acupuncture meridian. He also, we're going to be demonstrating these things too, he also found that there's an opposing muscle theory. So for you that say are massage therapists, when people have tight upper traps, well, Goodhart says we have tight muscles because of the opposing muscle being weak, like the latissimus dorsi. So when, as a therapist, we're saying, oh, wherever the muscle is tight, let's just rub it. Well, Goodhart told me this. He said, John, you're doing the rub and hope method. I'm going to teach you how to find what's really at the source of that, which is basically energy blockage. So when we unblock energy, symptoms go away naturally. So I'll be demonstrating in a moment how you can find where energy's blocked and what technique to do. Because in my massage practice, I had this challenge. Maybe you have had it too. Person comes in and they say, oh, I hurt here, I hurt there. Well, what do? I know a lot of techniques. I studied myriads of techniques before I studied AK in Touch for Health. And I would just throw my toolbox at people, hoping this technique would work or that technique would work. Well, with applied kinesiology, you're using muscle testing to ask the body what it wants and needs. When you supply the need, that's what Goodhart said. He said, there's three things. You might want to write these down. He said, diagnose the need, supply the need, and observe the result. Goodhart also said this. He said, where you think it is, it ain't. For instance, sometimes a person will have a joint problem and you think, oh, I just got to do structural work. But maybe it's nutritional or it could be emotional. One of my students I taught, he said, boy, I had this client come in and she had pain for 17 years in her shoulder and going to all these therapists, nobody's helping her. And then using the system that I'll demonstrate today, she found that it was an emotional issue that when he cleared the emotion, her shoulder was instantly better and it was resolved. Her whole issue, her whole problem was resolved. So where you think it is, an 8. And that's the beauty, another thing of applied kinesiology and Touch for Health, is it's a holistic system. And I'll demonstrate how you can find out if things are structural, nutritional, emotional, or bioelectrical. And we are multidimensional beings living in a sea of energy. My mentor, Sheldon Deal, said, we are living in the center of a sea of energy that affects us. He also said the body is a seething mass of compensation. And we want to find the priorities. And I'll demonstrate that in a moment. When you find a priority and work on that, other things clear up. Most people spend 80% of their time focusing on compensations. They don't know it. In fact, look at conventional Western medicine. What do? Hey, you got a pain, a problem? Let's mask it by giving you a pain relief drug. Well, that's like saying my car, as I'm driving down the freeway, is flashing warning, warning, warning. Oh, I don't want to see that warning light. Let's take some duct tape and slap it on the dashboard so we don't have to see that. Well, pain is a messenger. It's a messenger of what you need to pay attention to. And kinesiology and muscle testing lets you find out what the body's trying to say. See, the body expresses externally what's going on internally, and muscle testing is a way of tapping into that, manual muscle testing. Now let's do a poll. I want to find out what your level of expertise is. For you that are on Zoom, I know we have people on Facebook and is it also YouTube Live, that you can always put in the chat if you have the chat available. Is that also only available to Zooms, the Zoomers?
No, there's chat on all three.
Great. So you chat away whenever you have a question. But in the poll, we want to know what your level of expertise is. So if you're a new beginner, you haven't had any training in kinesiology, that would be one choice. And then our AK fundamentals, if you've taken that class, we'd like to know there. And if you've had some of our advanced training, that would be another choice. So let's run the poll and let me know, should we take another 30 seconds while I'm talking here? They can enter their answers and then we'll see who we're talking to today so I can address you at the level of training and expertise or lack of training that you are able to deliver, okay? So back to my background. So after I studied with Goodhart, at the end of that training, I became a certified Touch for Health instructor. I started teaching all over the United States and ended up in 1984 being awarded as the person in the US that taught the most Touch for Health classes. I then got invited by John Thie, who developed Touch for Health. He was one of Goodhart's closest associates learning AK and putting it into a, let's say, a less complicated or a less advanced system. So he brought me out to Pasadena. I had the great fortune of being his chiropractic assistant. So I got to watch him in his office right next to him, as well as be the program director of the Touch for Health Foundation. So then I started teaching in other countries where I took Touch for Health to Italy. I was the first one to bring it to Russia and was so thrilled to see how that all spread throughout the world, along with all these other people creating amazing associations and students, instructors in those areas. Well then in 1994, actually it was backing up here, 91, I left the Touch for Health Foundation and found my own program, the Kinesiology Institute, because what I realized is there was so much good stuff from Goodheart, phenomenal information and techniques, along with what's in the body of knowledge of Touch for Health, and I synthesized them into my program, bringing the best of both worlds. Plus studying with many other kinesiologists, such as Sheldon Deal, which I brought a lot of his work into this as well. So then in 1994, I had another great opportunity that I'm still participating in today. Tony Robbins calls, and he says, John, I want you to present at my Life Mastery University, Touch for Health. So wow, what an opportunity. So I went out there and joined people like Deepak Chopra, John Gray, Carolyn Mace, and phenomenal health professionals from around the world. And since 94 now, I've been presenting almost 30 years now as part of that program as well. So I'm just honored to have that distinction. Okay, let's see what the results are of the poll. And since I guess I will not see it on my screen, but Thomas, you can tell me what we've got.
Yes, so with 75% of our people reporting, about a little more than half are completely new to kinesiology.
Fantastic.
9 people.
New are almost half. Great.
I've taken the fundamentals, was about 30%, 5 people. And I've taken the advanced courses is only 13%.
Okay. So being that we have a lot of newbies there, I'm going to keep focusing on that. Now, for you that have already had the training, we'll get into some demonstrations of what's in the fundamentals courses, what's in some of the structural course that we have coming up. And so you know, we'll be giving you links for that later. But do stick around because someone that's online is going to win that scholarship at the end of us. Well, let's do this. Let's bring up Linda. We have Linda Watkins in the room, and we're going to see how Linda's doing so we can see what we can do to balance her. Hello, Linda.
Hi.
Hi. Lie down here on the table, and we're going to demonstrate muscle testing. Now, for you that are new to muscle testing, it's not a strength test. And what we're primarily going to be using is one muscle, the arm, as an indicator. So we can say it's a biofeedback indicator of where energy's flowing and when energy is blocked. So first, let me ask you, what's going on with your body that you would like to get help with today?
Okay, the other day I fell off my bike, landed on my knee and my hands,
Ouch.
which jammed my shoulder and irritated an old shoulder injury that I've had forever, and I've got a weak wrist.
Okay, weak wrist, okay. And so this knee got zapped in the shoulder, which she had an old injury. So first I'm just going to demonstrate a muscle test. What I can do here, so I'll take the arm that isn't involved. You want the person to have a relaxed hand and elbow straight and just up at about 45 degrees. You can do the standing as well. Now I'm pushing at this line of drive and you hold as I push, okay? And ready and hold. Now it's a gradual increasing pressure of about, say, 6 to 8 pounds. So you see how that stays right there? Good. Now I'm going to show you what you can do to see if it's giving accurate information. I have a magnet here with a green dot on it signifying, I put that on, it's the North Pole. When you put the North Pole over the muscle, which is the anterior deltoid you're testing, hold as I push, and it switches off. So without the green dot, it's on. So now I know what it is when it's off. And I usually tell the person, again, it's not a strength test, it's a relaxed hold meeting my pressure. And you just, as I push a little more, a little more, a little more, if the arm cannot maintain that, it just lets go. And if it starts to go, just let it go, okay? So sometimes people will like, it's going, and they recruit other muscles. Once you teach them how to be testable, and that's usually easy to do, a lot of people are right off the bat, then you can start using that, say, as an indicator. Now we're going to look at where there might be blockages. One of the things we teach in the fundamentals course is there's points on the head that are actually articulations of cranial bones. When I touch them, it will say where there's blockages. So hold as I push here. Okay, so I'm touching right at the third, kind of between the eyebrows, kind of the third eye. That was strong. Now I'm touching right over here. This is on the temple on the right side. Then I'm touching over here behind the ear, and that's where the occiput meets the parietal bone and temporal bone. That's strong. Now I'm going over here on this side and seeing what that does. Hold. Oh, and that goes weak. Now that's signifying, this is the 5 elements. It's signifying that there's either blockage in the lung meridian, it's deficient, low energy, or the large intestine meridian. So when I touch here again, for you that have done the fundamentals, you recognize what I'm doing. And this here is weak, right? So I say lung, it stays weak. Large intestine, it goes strong. So that's indicating the large intestine meridian is deficient in energy. Now I'm going to touch right over here, see what happens here. That's fine. Here, that's fine, and that's fine. So for now we know where to put our focus. Remember I said it tells you where to go. So we have a question, and that would be?
What do you do when you can't get a weak muscle when testing?
Okay, so if you can't get a weak muscle in testing, is the question. Well, it's training the person how to be testable. And what that boils down to is reminding them it's not a strength contest. And here's what I would do with them. I'd say, okay, let your arm be totally limp, just like that. Now, you know how a bike pump feels? As you ride a bike, pumping the tires? Put a little energy into it so it still moves. So I'm getting them from 0 to just enough to meet my pressure. A little more pressure, a little more tension. See, like when you get the bike full of air, it finally gets to the point where it's just that much. And so they're meeting my pressure. Okay, that's it. Now, just with that pressure meeting, here's another way I can say it. Say, my name is Joe Biden.
My name is Joe Biden.
And hold. And it's like a lie detector. When you say a lie, your body is in a stress. That's what it's showing when you've got a weak muscle. There's energy blockage or some kind of stress. My name is Linda Watkins.
My name is Linda Watkins.
And I push again. So I go from 0 to a little more, a little more, a little more, because when you say you can't find a weak muscle, well, it's not that the muscle should be weak. It's just when you're finding a stressor, which the magnet's one, saying a name that isn't yours is another, and you're teaching the person how to be testable. One other tip, I will have them test me. So you push on my arm, okay? Yeah, that's fine, just like that, okay? Good. And then I say, okay, my name is Kamala Harris. Okay, my name is John McGuire. Okay, when you say a name, particularly the opposite sex is what people find they will tend to go weak on. Any statement that's not true, okay? So that's a few tips. Now, in our courses, we emphasize a lot of ways to do both the testing of, accurate muscle testing, and we also show how you can do self-testing, which if we have time, we'll get into that. Okay, so we know the large intestine meridian is deficient. Now, we're also going to look at the shoulder, and we're going to see if there's some priorities here. There's a muscle related to the large intestine called the fascia lata, and there's reflexes known as, they're energy switches, known as the neurolymphatic points. So your body has all these energy switches, so when we find blockage, there's switches to flip the energy on. So the large intestine has switches along the leg here. So I can use the arm again, and say if I'm working with a massage client, you can find, see what I push, hold again, it goes weak when I touch a switch that needs to be worked. Now, if you want to go further, like in our structural course, we show how to actually test all the major muscles of the body. And that course, by the way, is coming up March 9th, and I'll talk about that more later. I'm going to push down and in, you hold it up, and it's weak. Now I can also, this is another tip, this is a hand mode or finger mode, we call them, that when I touch here, if there's a change from weak to strong in this case, it says it's a priority. So hold as I push again, and it does, it goes strong. So for you that are watching, rub right along the outside of your thigh. Is that tender there, Linda?
Yes.
Okay. And let's see what we got. Now, what you're doing is you're rubbing like in little circles right on the outside of your thigh, just like that. Okay? Or you can also go like this and just rub like this. So people that are, say, massage therapists, as I found myself in my practice, people got a lot better with less work. And I was working smarter, not harder, rather than, and I still get massage. Almost every week I'll get a massage. So full body massage are fantastic. However, when you really got to do therapeutic work, you combine your massage work with knowing right where to go. And you can even do that. And in our course, the AK Fundamentals, we even show how to integrate this into a massage practice. Okay, now let's see if we've switched that on. Hold as I push again. Wow, that's strong now. Did you notice the difference?
Big, huge difference.
Yeah, it was, she couldn't hold it at all. Now it was like giving it everything I got. And see, we corrected that. Okay, so let's go over to the shoulder now. Now I'm gonna, we call it circuit locate. Touch and then test is what circuit locating is. I'm gonna touch the shoulder. Is this where basically it's bothering you? Okay, and we're gonna test the indicator muscle again. And also make sure the person doesn't have their body tight, another tip. They're just relaxed hold. That's what they're doing. As I push down, meet my pressure, and there it goes. Now, there are hand modes, finger modes, and if you want to take a note on this, for you that are new, those that have been around know these. When you touch your thumb to your index finger, that is a structural correction if it goes from weak to strong. This is nutritional correction. That is thumb to the middle finger, meaning, well, we'll see if it comes up, but it's like dietary changes or supplements. This would be, the ring finger is the emotional mode, meaning emotional correction of stress release. And then this would be acupuncture or some energy work, like working the meridians or other things like chakras and auric fields. We teach that in our energy course. So let's go with touching here, and it's weak. Now I'm touching my thumb to the index finger. As I touch again, see what happens. It goes strong. That's structural. Thumb to the middle finger. Oh, it goes strong. That's nutritional. Come back to that. The ring finger, it didn't change. So it's not an emotional issue. And here, electrical. Great. Now that's really valuable because sometimes a shoulder issue, like I said with it was Jim, Dr. Reed, he found that woman had all these shoulder issues and it was emotional. So he knew what technique to approach it with. Other ones I've seen, electrical. And then we do meridian work that is phenomenally effective, clearing the pathway, the meridian flows. Then we got the structure in her case. So that means we got to do some structural work. So I'll do this. I'll say muscle balancing. Okay, so we need to do some muscle balancing. Ligament work, no. Okay, let's lymphatic drainage work, no. So that's giving me a clue. I'm going to do some muscle balancing there. Now the other one, nutrition. So this, we go into nutrition. Diet addition, no. Diet deletion, yes. Supplement addition, no. So in this case, let's go through some foods that you may eat it from time to time or whatever that could be irritating this. In other words, causing inflammation from the diet. So what foods might you have eaten from time to time that, or drank that might have effect on this, do you think?
Okay, dairy.
Dairy, okay. Delete dairy, no. See, I'm basically, if it goes, I'm saying a positive statement, it says, yeah, you need to do that, her arm will go strong. Okay, what else? Delete?
Gluten.
Delete gluten. And it says yes, okay. Any others?
Sugar.
Delete sugar. Yes, and?
Organic vegetables.
Delete organic vegetables. No. Anything you drink from time to time on occasion?
Alcohol.
Okay, drinking. Okay, so delete alcohol. Okay, it says yes. Now, I found once I had a shoulder, it was like a frozen shoulder, extremely painful. And I was getting structural work, and then I found out, oh, it's nutritional. I went on an alkalizing diet, and within 3 days, my shoulder was totally free. In fact, move your shoulder around right now so we get a sense of, as we're working today, how it's coming. So be aware that nutrition can play a part.
Painful in here when I move it this way.
Okay, and what would you say on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oh, let's say it's a 5.
5? Okay. So now we're going to, first, we just to go a little more in the nutrition. And we have by the way, we have a course coming up on March 5th. And if you're interested in learning like the basics, we're going to have a 1-day live course on Sunday, March 5th, where we're going to get into in-depth in each of the areas that I'm pretty much showing today. So we're going to have food testing as part of that. Well, since it's here, watch this. Now I'm going to take an arm here, and then I'm going to put this in her field. So I'll just put it right here around the midline. This is a really good place to test, and hold again as I push. See how it goes weak? Hold, strong. Okay, so definitely don't have a bottle of beer that you carry around like, oh boy, I'm even feeling weak. In fact, the person that discovered this was Dr. Jerry Deutsch. His daughter was bringing in a box of rat poison from the car, and she says, Dad, this box is really heavy. And then he lifted it up, he said, it's not that heavy, but he thought, even the field of energy, because everything's vibration and frequency, when it gets into your field, your body picks it up without even having to taste it. Though we show in the course how you can do tasting, smelling, whatever, but this is a fact that she doesn't, your body's showing you this is not going to be helpful. All right, so let's try sugar. Okay, so pack of sugar, put that on her, hold, and yeah. And by the way, you need to test it right away within 10 seconds because your body compensates, and after a while it says, okay, let me pull reserve energies that I can handle it. So things like wristwatches. When a person puts a wristwatch on and I test them, generally they'll go weak, especially if it's on their left hand. But then the body says, okay, I'm going to pull from my reserves. Well, if you're having all these stressors in your environment, like your diet, say cell phones or computers, possibly air pollution, and then you add noise stressors and toxins from everywhere, your body just feels so fatigued. In fact, a lot of my students as well as clients, their energy levels go up tremendously when we do this because we start taking the things out of their environment that are stressing them. Let's see, you also add wheat, right? Or oh, it's gluten. Okay, let's see what I got here. Okay, so here's a spaghetti that has gluten in it. So let's see what happens when you're here. Let's put that on your field and hold. Yeah. So why would you want to, say, start eliminating these things from your diet? I know you probably don't have them that often, but you did on occasion, right?
Right.
And so can you see the connection? If you really want your shoulder improved, your body's telling you what?
Avoid those things.
Yeah, go gluten-free. And you pretty well do sugar from what I understand. You don't do much sugar, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and so even the alcohol, if you think, well, I'll have an occasional drink. Well, think of this. If I really want my shoulder to hurt, I'll really load up on alcohol. That'll really do the trick. It's how I got rid of a lot of my vices, is rather than having a momentary gratification of my taste buds, did I want all the fallout that comes from that? And when I thought of the pain versus the gain, the pain said, I'm gonna let go of those things from my diet. Now let's do another thing. There's a technique called injury recall technique we cover in our structural course, as well as in the AK fundamentals, that one of my mentors, Dr. Wally Schmidt, one of the greatest kinesiologists of all time, said this is the most important thing you can do with somebody. So what we're going to do is, when she was touching the shoulder, or I could as well in this case, and the arm goes weak, if the person brings their chin to the chest, as you want to do now, and it goes strong, it's saying this technique can help clear that. Now what she has to do is she touches the area where the injury occurred, and by staying relaxed, I'm just going to bring her head forward, up like this, and back, up and back. Just very gently. And what I'm doing is I'm moving the atlas, the top bone in the neck, on the occiput, the bone right at the bottom of the skull, by just doing that. And then what next thing you do is you bring the mortise joint, which is the ankle joint, and there's a bone right at the top of the foot called the talus, and I'm just pulling it down like this. And it's on the side of the injury, just like that. And then Sheldon Deal taught me to lock it in, temporal tap. That's where you're going, your right hand on their left side is the best way to do that, to really lock it in. And that is a way to clear the memory of the injury. Okay, let's take the arm, take that away. And then I'm going to touch again and see if it's strong now. Wow, do you see how that strengthened the joint? So that's showing energetically we're really healing that. Now you also, while we're doing injury recall, you said you had the wrists going, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, let's do that. Touch the wrist. Well, I can do it. See, either one can touch it, and now hold. Now that's strong, but now arch the head back. If it's strong, and hold as I push, and now it goes weak, that's a sign you need to do the same technique. You hold this, the wrist. So just to review, if a muscle is weak when you're touching the area of injury, then they raise the head forward, and if that strengthens it, it says do injury recall technique. But if the joint is strong when you test it, and it has an injury that needs to be cleared, when they arch their head back and now it goes weak, you do injury recall technique. So let's see what happens now. I'm going to do this. And again, we get much more in depth in this in the class, like you can check range of motion, which often makes a factor, makes a positive influence and factor. Okay, so now we do, again, because it's on the right side, we do the right ankle, keep touching. And you're just pulling right on the talus and just lengthening that. You can also do it like this, where I put my fingers on the talus, either or will work, and then I toggle the foot like that. Okay? Now let's see what happens again. Take the hand away for a moment. In fact, I can touch it now. And arch your head back, and that improved. Okay, now we got more work to do, but let's just see before we go on, is there any improvement?
Oh my gosh, huge improvement.
Really?
Yeah, it feels really good in here.
Wow. Well, see, it's often simple and easy to do. And I've had so many people. Wow.
Yeah, that's been really aching.
Wow. So how many people walking around sometimes for years with injuries that just need to be cleared? And we go comprehensively, I show ways to do this through the whole body. So that's both in our AK fundamentals and our structural course. Now there's also muscles that can be checked here. Do you have any tightness in the upper traps?
I do.
Okay. Now the tightness in the upper traps is often, as I mentioned earlier, opposing muscle weakness in the latissimus dorsi. Latissimus dorsi holds the shoulder down, upper traps hold it up. Well, if the muscle that's holding the shoulder down is weak, they just naturally go up in the traps. So let me just touch here and see if that shows anything. Hold as I push. Yeah, she goes weak when I'm touching the upper traps, but basically it's saying, we need help. Now the lats, let's check them here. The elbow locked, pulling straight out from the side. Hold as I push, and that's going weak. Now there's an energy switch on the left side of the body. This muscle relates to the pancreas and the spleen. So I'm going to touch that point and see what happens. Hold. Wow, it goes strong. That gives me a clue that this point, rubbing this point, is it tender in here at all?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You got it.
Now we got it. The greater the tenderness, the greater the extent of the blockage. Wow. Take a deep breath in and then exhale. It's less tender when they exhale, okay? So these are, again, energy switches. Once you switch the muscles on, the body comes back into balance as well as the organs improve. And the pancreas is one of the, in fact, this latissimus dorsi, I think it was Dr. Schmidt told me, it's the most commonly weak muscle. And that's why people often have such tight upper traps, as their lats are all stressed. Why are the lats often stressed? Well, it relates to the pancreas, which is majorly affected by sugar in most people, and it's hard to escape. There's so much sugar in our diet, okay? Now there's also points on the back, so I'll rub those as well. And there's many other energy switches, but to keep it simple today, we're just going to go with primary ones here. And let's see what happens now. And hold as I pull this out. Wow, super strong. Let's see if this corrected. So the tight muscle, wow, that's better. Now you mentioned the wrist. We did the injury recall on it, but let's check a couple muscles here. This is the carpal muscles. We do this in our structural class. Again, we go into all the muscles. I'm going to pull this apart and you hold it together. Okay, and hold. Oh, and it's pulling apart. Now let's, I'll ask, origin insertion technique. Yes. Neurolymphatic technique. No. So compression on the wrist. Okay, so it gives me a couple things to do. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get right in here. Is that tender at all?
Yes.
Okay, I'm working on the insertion of the opponent's pollicis muscle. And you can do this on yourself as you're watching. It's often tender because, you know, we're on the keyboards all day long. This gets zapped. And also, you said you fell.
I fell.
And that produces a carpal tunnel. So I'm going to show you. These are the muscles for carpal tunnel. the opponent's pollicis muscle. So I'm rubbing that to adhere it back to the bone. This was the first technique that Goodhart discovered. See, he had a man who had a shoulder problem where his scapula was winging back. Well, Goodhart had a gift, Christmas gift, from another chiropractor of a book called Muscle Testing and Function by Kendall and Kendall. So Goodhart thought, well, so it's testing muscles, but if you find a weak muscle, what good does that do if they have to go to the gym and work out to get it stronger? So he didn't think anything of it, but he said, well, the book says for this man, his name was Ronald Foltz's problem, it would be the anterior serratus muscle. Okay, and so I'm going to work now on the opponent's minimi digiti over here and see, is that any tender? Bit tender. Get in there. Not as bad? Yeah.
Not as bad.
Okay, so he saw that his scapula was winging. He looks up in Kendall and Kendall's book, and it says, oh, that's the anterior serratus muscle. So he tests the anterior serratus on this man, and it's totally weak. So then, and I'll show you where that is. We can even check it on Linda. Here's how you test the muscle. I don't know if it's out or not, but let's see. Hold as I pull down. Oh, it is. You're holding, right? Mm-hmm. Nothing there. Okay, so here's the, what Goodhart did is he rubbed right along the anterior serratus muscle. It's that sawtooth edge muscle that's coming from the scapula going forward. And then in a bit we're going to ask questions. And also, if you want to put in the chat what your interests are in kinesiology, like what are you wanting to learn it for, like in your practice or in your life, maybe helping others. That tender in there, huh?
Getting really,
oh yeah,
really tender.
And so that's what he did. Goodhart just rubbed on the origin insertion just to palpate the muscle. He didn't know this would help, but just doing that, he found, wow, the muscle got entirely stronger. And then the guy, he wanted to pass a physical to get into working at a motor factory. Yeah. And that's what Ronald Foltz was going, Doc, that hurts. So he ended up getting a job in the motor factory after just that one technique. And Goodhart said, and you can even find this on YouTube, he talks about this story, that he saw him from time to time over the rest of his career, and the muscle never was weak again. See, this often gets injured, especially like in a jolt, where the muscle gets pulled away from the bone. It's called microevulsed. And that you're adhering the muscle back to the bone at the periosteum, the attachments. It's like taking a loose screw and screwing it into the hinge, and now the door's, working really well rather than flopping. So let's see if that helped. There's other things we can do, but let's try to get hold. Whoa! I can't, all my strength, I can't budge it. And it was like, you couldn't even hold it before.
Right.
Now move around and see if the shoulder's even more improved.
Oh yeah, it feels really relaxed.
Yeah, and probably stronger too. Now let's do a couple of more things on the wrist. This is often what's helpful is squeezing it, because when you have that land like you did on the pavement, the carpal bones separate and that ligament here gets loose, so you need to bring it back. So just going like this also helps, just squeezing it. And you can do that on yourself. If you have a chronic one, sometimes taking a firm wristband and wearing that wristband, as well as avoiding doing things where your wrist is all the way back like that, especially on pressure. So if you're doing, even like yoga. Bench presses, yoga, like I have perfect push-ups. It's these bars I grab so my wrists stay like this rather than doing push-ups like that. So those are things that try to keep your wrist straight and not bending back, okay? So let's see if we made a difference here, and hold as I pull this apart. Wow, that's better too. So see how the wrist feels. Is that improved?
Definitely.
Cool. Now let's go back to the point we found on the head earlier. This is a point back where the occiput meets it, hold as I push, and that's strong. That was the point for the metal element. We cover the 5 elements. See, kinesiology includes Eastern medicine, the best of Eastern and the best of Western. So you're learning how to cover all the bases. See, we are energetic beings. In this energy body, we are able to look through the meridians and seeing where the blockages are. Now, since we were on large intestine, Yeah, and then we'll be done with you in a moment. I'm going to run the large intestine meridian too. That's just going from beginning to end. And so are you feeling better now?
Yes.
Oh, and you had this knee. One last thing. Remember the knee here? So do you have like pain in the knee? Is it?
You're right. It's sort of right under the kneecap.
Under the kneecap.
In the
Okay.
center.
Well, again, we can take a muscle. Any muscle will do. I'll just hold as I push down. Okay, now I've got a strong one. I touch here. Bingo. It goes. So I can, let's just work here down to the bone. See, this is where the quadricep, the patellar tendon, goes right down onto the tibia. So again, often it's attachments of muscles we need to work. This is why it's so great for massage therapists to do this work. Okay? And how's that feeling there?
Tender.
Tender, okay. And what I'm doing, I'm also rubbing, pushing up towards the belly of the muscle. It's a technique we have in our courses called Golgi tendon that tells the nerves to have the muscle be strong. And let's see how that is there. And if we got that helped, great. Okay. Well, you see and I've done a lot of demonstration, but we could have done all this in like probably 5 to 10 minutes. So you can incorporate this into other work. And we have people like Danny Varela, who I have had, as a student, I think since the 90s. And he's making $300 a session, even less than an hour. And he comments that he has 250 client sessions a month. And so he has people flying in from other states as well as Olympic teams. They fly him to the Olympics to work on their athletes. He has world record holders, professional athletes. One was Vladimir Guerrero. In fact, we have our sports kinesiology course that we also get into all this stuff in a sports context. Vladimir Guerrero, the senior, not the younger one now, he was basically, his career was over. He was out on the DL, was not playing, and they called Danny in, and he got him back on the field to where he got the Angels into the playoffs, and they beat the Boston team, Red Sox, and he scored all the winning runs, and then he got him into the finals with American League with New York, and ended up scoring winning runs there, but they lost in 6 games. The next year, he got his team, the Rangers, into the World Series. And he gave Danny a $6,000 check, said, whenever I need to see you, be there. And so it was amazing how this approach that I'm doing right here, Danny said that other trainers couldn't help him because they were looking in the wrong place. See, that's the problem. People look where the puddle is on the floor rather than the hole in the roof that's causing the puddle. And that's what we do. We help you to find what's at the source. Well, Linda, I think I'm ready for you to leave, but hold one second. Do we have any questions that I might need to demonstrate on Linda?
No other questions at the moment. A few people were responding, and maybe you can mention again what people should send in the chat, maybe what they use this for.
Yeah. And then we're going to show you the courses that we have coming up, as well as we're going to do the drawing, okay? So for now, if you want to, we'll bring you back if we need you, but I think we're good, okay? Thanks so much for joining us. And you seem like you got some good results, huh?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Great. So what I want you to put in the chat is how you want to, how would you like to benefit yourself learning this information? For instance, for me in the beginning, it was as a massage therapist, I wanted to be more effective in my work. Also working with athletes. If you're working with athletes, you want to help athletes get better results in their races as well as or the events. Also, say nutritionists. We have many nutritionists. We have a whole course in biochemical kinesiology, and they're loving that because they can find things that are maybe not detected even in lab reports. They're called subclinical. So how you'd like to use that. So you can enter that in the chat. Now I'd like to also show you on our site, kinesiologyinstitute.com, and we'll bring it up so you can, we'll see it on the screen share. So kinesiology, Kinesiology, institute.com. And when you look there, you'll see the homepage. If you scroll down a little bit, and if you haven't already, you get a little free course there on the opt-in. So you see the purple thing there, that's our AK fundamentals. And when you click on that, you'll see that we have a special right now that you get $200 off the course. You'll have lifetime access to this. You go at your own pace. And for you that want CEs, you get 16 CEs from the National Certification Board of Massage and Therapeutic Body Workers. So that there is fabulous, give you so many skills. And I just got a testimonial today from someone that took the course. They said, wow, this is getting so many great results with my clients after this. It's tremendous investment to have that kind of knowledge. A lot of what I showed you is right in this course. Most of it is today. Now, in there, you also have $200 off another course if you want to take it in the future. In the next 2 months, you can get that credit. So be aware that it's tremendous value for you. And we're just running that now it will be gone soon. So if you want to enroll, this is the time to do it to get that advanced benefit. Now, if you go back to the home page here, you'll also see we have a structural course coming up. And this is the last time I'm doing this course, especially this year, if you want to get certified. And you also get 96 hours. There's a program there. You can see more demonstration if you want to watch that video. But we have a live class coming up in Long Beach, California, and it's March 9th through the 19th. That's 10 days with a day off in the middle. So you do 5 days on, day off. And in that, you're getting supervised practice with both me and Larry Brune, who's a master kinesiologist, and you'll have a lot of personal attention. We're keeping it to a very small group. So this is the only time this is happening this year. I know it's coming up quick, but if you can jump in, there's also 24 classes that you have lifetime access to online, and then you can get certified to get clients. We refer people who are certified when we get requests coming in, which is almost every day. We have people that we then refer to that are certified practitioners. So it's a great advantage there. Now, if you can't make it live and you want to do that blue button there is how you would then get the online only course. So that is where you would actually study those 24 classes. And we got a discount on it right now, 30% off. That's a great way to get the skills if you can't travel over to Long Beach and join us there live. So great opportunities for you, and we're here to help you be the best practitioner you can be. That's my commitment and the commitment of our staff. And again, we have so many testimonials of people. You can see some of those on the website of practitioners as well as lay people getting amazing results with our instruction. Since I've been teaching this for over 40 years now, I know how to present it in ways that people get it. I like simple and easy approach, how to keep it simple and easy and still know the whys behind everything and the systems. See, the problem I had with Touch for Health is it didn't teach protocols that you know what to do when. And then I took from Goodheart, as well as Dr. Sheldon Deal, Wally Schmidt, many other, David Leaf, and many other health professionals doing AK to synthesize the best of the best in giving you the exact things that get you results fast. So let's see, do we have any other questions? And then we'll do the drawing here in just a bit.
Yeah, some people have been sending in, how they kind of use this. A couple questions kind of baked in there.
Yeah.
But we have Suzette, who has a massage practice. We have Jewel DK, and she's wondering about maybe helping with a hurting left elbow. Mm-hmm. We have Michelle, who would like to be more efficient and with food and allergy testing. Mm-hmm. We have Malcolm, who's hoping this might be helpful in counseling therapy to identify problems. We have Sylvia, who's working on friends and family only for now.
Okay, let's start with those. So we'll go back to the counseling. We didn't show any of the emotional clearing techniques as she didn't have that come up, but we have various programs you can look at even online. Like, again, our free class, I show a technique of clearing emotional stress. And you mentioned also finding the root of it. Like there's in our a psychological kinesiology course, which you can also find online on the homepage. You scroll down and you'll see that as another course. Click on that, and there's also a program. I think you can watch the first class for free. That's the best place to find that, and it gives you some techniques there. But in that course, we also show how you can find out what age something came up with. Another case in point, story of a woman, that client of mine who had a shoulder issue, and we found out it was emotional. Now, we also found out that it happened at age 17, the emotional upset. See, when you have emotional stressors, they never die. They just get buried alive in your tissue, in your body. And so we cleared that, and she said, oh gosh, at 17, that's when my parents got divorced and my whole life fell apart. And she shouldered that burden for the rest of her adult life. She was in her 50s. We cleared the emotion, and bingo, the pain went. And it isn't always a physical pain. I mean, just carrying a deep emotional pains. I think I've had more emotional pains than anyone I've ever met. And I use this to help me get through so many traumas and crises in my life. But you are able to pinpoint where they are, even if the person isn't aware of them. And sometimes it's like even when they're a very little child, and the results are phenomenal because it's energy psychology that we're working with. And energy is at the root of problems, physical, structural, emotional, everything's energy. But when you clear the energy frequencies and the blocks that are held deep within the subconscious, it just opens up your life and your level of happiness. Plus, I hardly ever have a negative thought. I grew up as an anxiety neurotic, and I didn't think I was going to live till I was to be 21 years old. I had so many health issues when I was a child. So very grateful that I discovered kinesiology in my 20s and was able to clear so much of my emotional issues. My relationships improved, and I got to the point where I just live a joyous, happy life now. Even when things aren't going well, it's like you elevate to a higher level. Now, as far as the elbow, again, we do, rather than doing this for elbow pain, we find out what it needs. Now, in many cases, like holding the elbow while you do the injury recall, which is just lifting their head up and down like that, well, they're relaxing. And then doing the talus joint where you're pulling the ankle down on the side that the elbow's hurting. You saw how with Linda, her shoulder, like just from that alone, just doing the injury recall technique on her shoulder helped tremendously. That's a real quick, easy thing. Now, there's also facts that you might have muscle balancing. In our structural course, we show like muscles related to the elbow, like triceps and other muscles. Sometimes teres minor can be involved in elbow problems. So you learn, the more you learn, the more you know what tools could potentially help. Also, I think, what was there, another one, was there something about another issue? I know we had the two there.
Be more efficient with food and allergy testing.
Okay, be more efficient with food and allergy testing. Now, there's other points we touch, which is back on the back of the neck, which is tapping into the vagus nerve, which is your main nervous system connection with the gut and the brain. So we sometimes, and we show that in our courses, where that helps to see whether you are sensitive to a food. And then we also, in our biochemical course, show the distinction between sensitivities and allergies. When you're allergic to something, you remember I put sugar on her belly and then she went weak. Well, in 10 seconds, if it goes strong, it means you're sensitive to it. But say it stays weak, that means you're allergic to it. Then we even have allergy corrections that we show in the course, as well as how to know if someone's addicted to something, and then how to clear addictions. So that's in our biochemical course, as well as in our psychological course, because everything connects. Your biochemistry majorly affects your emotional and psychological state, as well as your psychological state affects your biochemical state, as well as your structural body, and everything affects everything. I'll give you another story. I had a man come in who was prescribed Xanax and what's the one for Ambien for sleep. He had anxiety and he had sleep issues. Well, when I tested him, I found out his body said, it wanted structural work. I thought, structural work? That's bizarre. Well, then I went further. In our structural course, we show you how you can test and balance cranial bones. The cranial bone affecting the brain was then affecting his pineal gland, which was affecting his melatonin output, that was affecting his sleep, that was affecting his anxiety. So just literally, the guy needed his head examined. And when I balanced his cranials, again, we show this in the structural course, he was like, wow, I don't have anxiety. I'm sleeping well now. So sometimes a good heart said, where you think it is, it ain't. So that's the beauty. You just go with an open mind and say, I'm going to see what their body tells me, and then I'll do what it says. And when you fix what you find, they get better in almost every case. And there's times where I refer people out because there's, say, a person might have a more advanced condition, and the body will basically reveal, hey, there's more to do. So it's fine to integrate this with, even conventional Western medicine and getting labs. I'm all for people getting labs and making sure every base is covered, especially if a pain persists. But in many cases, people get rid of pain and it stays gone because you fixed what was causing the pain. Write this down, LET. That's living, eating, and thinking. So getting enough sleep, proper exercise, balance of work and play, the key fundamental things of a lifestyle that supports you. The food you eat food that's full of life force. Shop around the aisles of a market rather than the processed food. If you can eliminate processed food and you eliminate sugar and you drink good quality water, that makes such a difference. And then the thinking, probably the most important of all. You cannot afford the luxury of a negative thought. It's so detrimental. So you want to think, what can make me better? Even in the challenges you have in life, ask yourself the question, how can this challenge I've had be a learning or a lesson or a growth platform that I can spring out of to make my life and the life of others better? See, everything that happens to you happens for you, not to you, to make a better life for yourself. And I've been through the darkest moments of existence in my life. And I always said, how can I use this to help others? So we'll go into more of that in the courses, all the psychological things of how you can tap into some higher levels of being. We get into David Hawkins in the psychological course, how you can raise your levels of consciousness. If you haven't seen his book, Power versus Force, get it. It's phenomenal. Wayne Dyer said it was the best book he read in the last 10 years when he read that. He said, oh, this is great. And he even talks about it in his Power, the PBS specials he did. And he does muscle testing. So muscle testing is a way to access into your higher consciousness as well as your subconscious to get information that can guide you and gives you lessons. So any other questions before we do our drawing or any things you'd like to share?
We have a few more people who shared some stuff.
Okay.
We have Kathleen, who doesn't know where to start but wants to get into this again. We have Ellen, who is Touch for Health certified and has some familiarity.
Great. Well, let me talk on those two.
Yeah.
Send me was it Catherine that mentioned? Kathleen. Yeah, send us an email and we'll keep you posted. And any of you that want, email john@kinesiologyinstitute.com, john@kinesiology.com. And if you can post that in the chat, with what your individual needs are, so I can basically get back to you with my staff, because we have a lot of different things we're offering. Back to where to start. The AK Fundamentals is a great place to start, and also look for, we're going to be announcing this course that we're looking forward to teaching on the 5th of March. That will be a one-day class. You'll have access to it lifetime and get the recordings. So watch for that coming up. And then the other person mentioned, what was it?
That they've done some Touch for Health.
Oh, Touch for Health, yeah.
And they're signed up for the fundamentals course and looking forward to taking it. And
Great.
learning more about
Fantastic. Yeah, by the way, people that have, and I was the guy who came up with a lot of the Touch for Health curriculum. I came up with the Touch for Health 4 and I was the program director of Touch for Health. So I found everything's great in Touch for Health, but this, where you take that, you can, in our courses, know how to apply it faster. Like I show you all these shortcuts. And it's great to have that rich knowledge. And many people that have studied Touch for Health come into our program and say, wow, I now know it so much better. I know how to use it in ways that I can apply it in client sessions. So it's a great platform to have that background. Though for you that haven't had Touch for Health, you basically are getting pretty much everything in Touch for Health and much, much more in very easy to work with bite-sized pieces that are easy to apply. Okay, anything else before we do our drawing?
I mean, there's a few more, we can kind of really quick rapid fire
Sure,
go through them.
let's go through them.
We have some with Noriko, who's asking about, where to learn allergy testing and clearing emotional blockage.
Okay, that one would be where to learn allergy testing and emotional blockage. Well, the allergy testing we have, particularly in our biochemical course. There's also a 30% savings we have running on that right now, and a myriad of other things. And then the psychological course also gets into so many ways that you can help people with the second thing you said. Next.
Ellen asking, do you know if what state we practice in affects what we can do for clients? Do we need to have a license or certification?
Okay, so she asked about what state, whether you're at a state, you probably would have to check with, to be a really effective lawyers in the state, what you can do, what you can't do. However, there's a lot of people that are doing this work without, say, a license or whatever, like a massage license or certification, because you're not diagnosing or treating any conditions. You're basically doing health coaching to find out, back to living, eating, and thinking, what's going on in a person's living, eating, and thinking. And a lot of people just finding what their optimum diet is and being able to, because see, a lot of, like I did the Viome test. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's you send in samples to labs that do this DNA analysis, and they tell you things that you shouldn't be eating. Like for me, it was broccoli and asparagus, which I was eating a lot of. These are healthy foods, but each person has a bio-individual nature that what's one person's medicine could be another person's poison. So you could even do that. Like in our biochemical course, we have people that are, we also have nurses and doctors and clinicians and nutritionists doing that. But also a lot of this work, it's non-invasive. And you're not doing therapy in that sense. You're just balancing the body's energy and structurally and energetically. So in many cases, as long as you don't claim you're doing treatment and you're certainly not doing diagnosis in this form, then you're fine. And there's many doctors that can diagnose, and they're using this to support themselves. We've had a couple chiropractors in the last month saying, wow, I'm getting so much better results with my patients doing this work and adding it to their approaches. Any other questions?
Can this help trigger finger too?
Trigger fingers. I had one student whose husband was going off about to get surgery for a trigger finger, and she did a technique from our energy course called figure eights, Tibetan figure eights, and she did that technique on him and totally cleared up his finger issues, and he didn't need the surgery. So it certainly has had proof in practice of that. And it comes back to this. Rather than do this technique for that, as I mentioned, you ask the body. Like when I was working with Linda, it said, okay, injury recall technique. It said, balance this muscle. It said, rub here, stroke here. And you do what the body tells you to do rather than thinking, oh, I got to learn this technique for that system, this technique for that problem. So you're always just asking the body. And that's why we have a full development of courses. Most people take all of our programs in the advanced course because there's times when the nutritional work is very much needed, or the psychological, or the energy, or the structural. So as you see, you can fix what you find, and that is the key to getting people better. One other thing, the body wants to be fixed in a particular sequence. So we're teaching you how to find out what's it need first, what's it need second, what's it need third. So people become very adept when they take our courses to learn how to approach it in this way. Shall we go to the drawing now?
Yeah, that's everything
So-
I had question-wise.
Great. How many people do we have on the board?
So the eligible people in Zoom, we have 19.
19. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. When my finger, I'm testing yes, no, this is a little self-test for finger testing here. I take my index finger, you can try this, on the top end joint of the middle finger, and I say, body, give me a yes, body, give me a no. Okay, body, give me indicator change. Okay, so when I get indicator change, that will be the person. So somebody between 1 and 5, 5 and 10, 10 and 15. Okay, so 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So number 14 on the board is the one that wins our $200 scholarship, and that would be, and I want you to email me whoever won so I can get you set up with one of our assistants to get you that $200 scholarship that you can then apply to any of our courses, and that would be?
It's Nikki Leones.
Nikki Leones. Congratulations, Nikki. You are our winner. Lucky winner. So Nikki, send an email to John, John, at kinesiologyinstitute.com and say, hey, I'm the winner, and then we'll get you set up with how you can apply that. So I want to thank you all for your commitment to being the best you can be, both for your personal health, for helping your loved ones, as well as your clients and patients, for you that are therapists. And so we're here for you. Check out the courses. I mentioned the links to kinesiologyinstitute.com, where you can find AK Fundamentals, as well as the structural course, or the biochemical kinesiology, structural kinesiology, the energy kinesiology, and psychological kinesiology, because we have special deals running right now, and we have lifetime access that you will have, that any course you get. And people ask questions. We have people from 4 or 5 years ago. They can still ask questions, and we help them, support them in being the best they can be. So until then, I wish you well, and I thank you for making the Kinesiology Institute your best choice in health and wellness education.